Big news broke on Saturday afternoon. The Knicks trading RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and a 2024 second rounder to the Toronto Raptors in exchange for OG Anunoby, Precious Achua, and Malachi Flynn. Now, I have to really try to keep my emotions out of this. Of course, I am a Knicks fan, but I am also a rational basketball fan. So I have to look at this from a basketball perspective. The Knicks are in need of a wing defender and a floor spacer at that position. RJ Barrett just wasn't giving that to the Knicks this season. He's had a really tough go this season ever since he had that migraine in November. He's just been really struggling since then, and the Knicks on both ends of the floor because of that have also been struggling outside of Brunson and Randall. So OG Anunoby, he brings that 15 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a 37% shooter from behind the arc, and he's also a nice corner specialist, shooting about 50% from the corners. He brings two-way versatility. That's exactly what the Knicks need with this lineup, with their offense running mostly around Brunson and Randall. I genuinely think he's going to fit really, really well. You keep all your first rounders of the New York Knicks, and that's obviously going to help the Knicks trade for someone bigger, a 1A superstar in the future. And that's kind of the plan, it looks like, for Leon Rose in the front office to remain flexible, remain in position to put a really good trade package together for a player in the future like a Donovan Mitchell or like a Joel Embiid. My problem with this trade isn't really the trade itself. I think the trade itself is fine. I hate that you trade RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, who I think is very valuable. You only get OG Anunoby back. I don't know. A lot of people view OG Anunoby very highly. Of course, the Raptors and Masai Ujiri did, because the reports prior to this trade was that he was looking for multiple first rounders, and no team logically would ever, put that type of package together for someone like OG Anunoby. So it is refreshing that the Knicks got this deal without really having to give up a lot of first rounders. Not any. They gave up just a 2024 second round pick from Detroit. So that's going to be actually a decent second rounder. But my real problem is the asset management overall from this front office. I was very, very upset, as most Knicks fans were, that the Knicks just don't see Emmanuel Quickly as a highly valuable player to this organization. And they made that very clear in the offseason when they refused to extend him and allowed him to be a restricted free agent coming up this summer. And then you're letting him play. He's playing really, really well. There's nights he's our second best player because, there's nights that Brunson struggles, Randall does well, or Randall was struggling a lot the first month of the season, and Brunson's kind of been really, really good. He's going to be an all-star this season most likely. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly was really the driver of our offense in a lot of games. And we had a game against Miami a couple weeks ago where we were down 21 points. They bring in Emmanuel Quickly halfway through the third, and he drives us back, helps us come back in that game. I just don't understand why they just didn't see Emmanuel Quickly the way I guess fans did. Two-way versatility, elite shot making, high energy player off the bench. I mean, he really was our bench. That's one of my biggest concerns right now going forward. We don't have a bench. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo, he balled out last night against the Pacers, had a career high, hit 7 threes. Really good. I've praised the front office for the Dante DiVincenzo signing. I thought it was a really good pickup. Bring in more Villanova guys. Why not? And he's really fit in well. He brings defense, brings, a hard-nosed attitude to his play, a lot of hustle. Type of guys that Tom Thibodeau likes. Type of guys he plays a lot. But you look at our bench right now, especially with Mitchell Robinson being out. Hartenstein, who was a big piece off our bench, he's now starting. He's filling in the role beautifully. We're looking at Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, and now maybe even Deuce McBride, who the Knicks also extended last night. That's going to be kind of our offense off the bench. And now you're bringing in Precious Achua, who, I will be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Precious Achua. I followed him a little bit in high school because me and him are similar age. So I knew about him in high school and how he was playing. Don't really know how well he was for the Raptors. But obviously they're trading him. We'll see what he brings to the table. He does fill one gap in the fact that the Knicks have no backup power forward ever since we traded Toppin for basically nothing. he fills in that gap. We needed a backup power forward. Our backup power forward this season has been Josh Hart. And he's done an okay job at it just because he's just such a good rebounder. And they had to bring in Taj Gibson because of the injury to Mitchell Robinson. So now you have a hybrid kind of big that you can play some minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, however much you need from him. Not a lot of minutes are going to go to the backup power forward anyway because Randall plays almost 40 minutes a night. But I just think overall, you question the strategy here because I've talked with James Boyzitz multiple times about the Knicks and what they could do moving forward. It's kind of been obvious that they want to make a trade, and I thought it was possible for them to make a smaller trade this season and then maybe in the offseason or next season make that huge trade. They've done exactly that. I just don't think many Knicks fans thought OG Anunoby was going to be the guy they went after. It's always been a possibility. You heard murmurs because of the CAA connection, and that's kind of just how the Knicks organization runs right now, that OG Anunoby could be brought to the Knicks. But since the asking price was always so high, you just didn't think it was ever going to be done. RJ Barrett, you sell him low here, and I don't like that. You waited till he struggled really badly to trade him. I think if you wait maybe a little longer to the deadline, I'm not sure why this trade needed to happen on December 30th, in the middle of a back-to-back. Why that had to happen last night instead of, waiting closer to the deadline when more deals are available, more teams are going to be shopping their pieces. Now it's just rumors. But it's clear that the front office saw an opportunity to get better and went after it. And that's something they really haven't done necessarily so far, under this current regime. So I will applaud them for that because I do think OG Anunoby, the more I've thought about this, I made a TikTok yesterday and I wasn't really sure that this trade made the Knicks any better. But I think it'll be clear once we see him on the floor. I'm not sure if he's going to play tomorrow. The Knicks have a game, I believe, against Minnesota. I don't think we'll see him tomorrow. Maybe we will. But when we see him sometime this week, I think this starting lineup is really going to mesh well together. It sucks that Mitch is hurt. But when you look at the starting lineup, obviously a lot of our offense is going to run through Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. And they're high isolation players. For better or for worse, we go as they go. It makes sense to have guys that can space the floor and can also defend around them. I wonder if we see Quentin Grimes back in the starting lineup. I don't think we will because of the performance Dante DiVincenzo put up last night. He's been shooting the ball really, really well. I think 44% so far throughout the season from behind the arc. So if he's going to shoot the ball that way and he's going to give that hustle and energy and that defense, I think he stays in the starting lineup. I think that's what Tom Thibodeau is going to go do. Quentin Grimes kind of left in limbo here because, there's minutes for him to play now. And we're going to have to see if he really steps up and shows what we saw more so last season on the defensive end and his willingness to shoot the ball and maybe even drive kickouts and stuff like that. If we see that more with the minutes opening up at that guard position. Another major problem I think I have with this deal in general, just with the way the Knicks are moving right now, we are catering the roster to Tom Thibodeau and his style of play, the way he coaches, the way he likes to, run the team. If you look at all the decisions the Knicks have made the past 2 seasons or so, you got trading Toppin for second rounders to the Pacers. Toppin no longer starting for Indiana, but he has obviously fit in there. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton has a lot to do with that. Not a great rebounder, not a great defender, and that's why Tom Thibodeau just didn't play him a lot, despite what he could do on the offensive end. We don't re-sign quickly, but we instead re-sign Hart, because Hart, even though he's more or less the same size as Quickly, probably Quickly's a little smaller, Hart defends, Hart rebounds, and he's more of a hustle guy, the type of guy that Tibbs likes. So we go with that instead. And then now you're trading him away for just OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa. Malachi Flynn, I don't think is going to play at all. It's kind of just probably going to be at the end of the bench. Maybe they even flip him again, especially with them re-signing Deuce McBride. We'll see what they do with Malachi Flynn, if he ever plays or if he's thrown into another deal. That's another thing with this trade. I think as is, you're not too happy with what the Knicks look like right now. It looks kind of weird. But if there's another deal in the works. I'm not sure if it's going to be this season in the offseason, if they still look at a player like DeJounte Murray, who's been thrown around in trade rumors for multiple teams. He had a really great game tonight against the Wizards. I think he had like 30 points. Is that something the Knicks explore? Is that something the Knicks continue to do? And that's kind of the point of this deal, and why a lot of Knicks fans are angry. I think we're angry just about losing Emmanuel quickly. You know, I saw a tweet that said we might get Jalen Brunson by Emmanuel quickly. Emmanuel quickly goes to Toronto, finally gets the starting minutes, and he finally has, the space and the leash to just play as freely as he wants and really go off. And, that's just how it is. I think that's just what's going on with the Knicks, and what's upsetting to so many fans is that we have someone like Emmanuel quickly, who we believe could be even maybe an all-star in this league, a Tyrese Maxey type of player. But because he doesn't fit the identity of the team that Tom Thibodeau has created, we're going to trade him away. And that's my probably biggest problem, is that why are we operating under the assumption that Tom Thibodeau is going to be the guy to take us to the promised land? That's a thing. The more we cater to Tom Thibodeau and with his style, the more it keeps him at the head coach. Because if you got this roster that he likes and he has a say in, and that it's going to work his style, why would you fire him? And, I talk about last season, there was a game, I think it was against Cleveland. We ended up beating Cleveland, and we were at a really bad stretch in December. It was before we traded for Hart, before we turned the season around by switching up the starting lineup. Like, it was imminent. Tom Thibodeau's job was in danger. And then they win that game in Cleveland, and it kind of saves his job, and then they end up going on that run. I just don't have a lot of belief in Tom Thibodeau. And I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy to take us there. He's never gotten there before as a head coach. He was there as a, defensive assistant coach in Boston. But it seems like all Tom Thibodeau teams have like a second round cap. And I think this team is still at that cap. This deal doesn't change that either way. OG Anunoby may fit the team better than RJ Barrett, and the team may run a little more smoothly, which maybe wins another game or two. But we still have the same problems that we had prior. And it's that, well, one, Mitchell Robinson's hurt. He's our best big. He's our, the anchor for our defense. That hurts. You have your offense is two isolation heavy players. You basically go as they go. If they play poorly, the team's going to play poorly. And then you're relying on guys that, aren't great off the bench. Grimes has not proven to be a reliable player, which is why he fell from grace. He was no longer in the starting lineup. And you're going to bring in OG Anunoby, who is averaging just 15 points per game. We're going to hope he can bring more, be our third best player. And it's going to be difficult for him to really have an impact offensively, I think. I think his ability to shoot is going to be valuable because his team lacks shooting, scoring in general. You trade that away with Emmanuel quickly. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Knicks adjust to this change, how the bench is going to perform. Do we see Brunson play some minutes with just an all-bench lineup, or Julius Randle conversely? Because that was something they did with RJ Barrett, and it was a way to give RJ Barrett high usage and give him an opportunity to score and really have an impact on the game. He just wasn't performing in that position. They would run RJ Barrett with basically just a lineup of bench players, and they just kind of let him run the reins. I'm not sure you could do that with OG Anunoby. He's not that type of player, playmaking wise. Do we see Thibodeau try to tink the lineups a little bit? If that's something he's really good at, those adjustments things are the things that I think lose you games, lose you playoff series, and I think Tom Thibodeau has never really proven to be great at that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Knicks, look going forward. OG Anunoby, what else they could possibly do when, you got all your first rounders still. I saw a tweet about an NBA exec talking about the next deal is going to have to be Randall. They don't really have anybody else now, player-wise, asset-wise, to trade if they want to really go for a 1A superstar, whether it be Donovan Mitchell, DeJounte Murray, who I don't think DeJounte Murray, if he does get traded, not sure how likely it is at this point in time. But if he does get traded, I don't see him going for an offer better than the one we gave up for OG Anunoby, because the deadline deals are not always as great. DeJounte Murray will probably garner a first round pick, where OG Anunoby, we got away with not giving up a first round pick. And I think that was really key why this trade got done right then and now, before another team later on offered a first round pick, which I think the Raptors really wanted. I mean, that's why Masai Ujiri was kind of talking like that. The past 2 seasons that they've kind of been mulling over a rebuild. I think Toronto's finally taken the first step. Now we're hearing trade rumors about Pascal Siakam. I've seen the Sixers could get involved in that. I've seen trade machine stuff about the Pacers, if they could put a good package together for Pascal Siakam. But the Knicks, it's a kind of a weird feeling right now. We're losing all of our homegrown guys, guys that the fan base really fell in love with. It's stuff we're going to have to get over, because if we want to become a championship contender, we're going to have to trade some guys. We're going to have to get better. RJ Barrett, it's year 5 for RJ Barrett, and we haven't really seen the growth that I think people expected. He's kind of more or less the same player he's been since like year 3, and that's just not what we need from our third best player. And he just wasn't going to, I don't think he's ever going to provide that here in New York. If he becomes that in Toronto, that's great for him. I'm happy for him. He's from Canada. I think he's going to have a great season, rest of the season for Toronto. Hopefully it kind of invigorates him. Getting traded, it could be a nice reality check. And I expect that the same from Emmanuel quickly. I mean, he was doing it here. Now he's going to be given a starting position in Toronto, most likely. They're probably both going to spread their wings and have a really good season. And I thank them for what they gave the Knicks. Emmanuel Quickly was one of my favorite Knicks players. So it is sad to see him go. I think once Knicks fans get over that, we'll see, more, rational opinions when it comes to the Knicks and this team, especially if OG Anunoby plays really well. OG Anunoby could be one of those guys where you're like, what is he going to do? And then he does all the things we need him to do. All the in-betweens, when he hits a big 3 and stuff like that. It's going to be nice to see. Hey guys, whether you're new or old, be sure to like, share the video, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at True Troops for more basketball content.